after our first not in Hall of Fame football edition, where we're looking at those who should be considered for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, what's next? The Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's going to be happening pretty soon. So what do we do? What do we look at? We look at those who we probably should consider, and we've got a pretty good group here. I'll introduce myself first. Kirk Buckner, owner, operator, notinhalloffame.com. We'll just move on from left to right. So, Evan.
Evan Nolan, bourbon enthusiast and contributor to notinhalloffame.com and co-host on the official podcast of notinhalloffame.com, The Buck Stops Here.
Mm-hmm. All right, Vinny.
Vinny Laspinuso, also a contributor to notinhalloffame.com and also a longtime associate of yours, and also the youngest one here by I think like a year, and then the massive gap afterwards.
All right, well done, Ted.
Ted Crockett, not a contributor, just a super fan for all things Hall of Fame: baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Follow them all.
All right, sounds good. Alex
Tessitore, just a massive sports nut. Go Jays. Here's Mr. Shapiro. You better sign Springer or Bauer, else you're going to have a big problem here.
Nice. Oh, wow. Okay. Dave.
Invited guest at LHD on Sports on Twitter. Just met up with Kirk on Twitter and invited me to this forum. A big baseball fan, football fan, so participated in both forums. Look forward to the discussion.
All right, beauty. And Glenn.
Glenn Pulowski, just a sports fan that got roped into this mess. Bills Mafia, Sabres, Yankees. That's about it.
And it is a mess. It is a mess. And so let's start off with the mess here, guys. The biggest mess that I can think of, it's not Kurt Schilling, we're going to get there, is Barry Bonds and Roger Clements. Two guys who are in their 9th year of eligibility. I can speak for Evan here when I say this. And Evan, stop me if I'm wrong here. We've got a pair of guys who probably would have been in the Baseball Hall of Fame already had there not been certain issues that existed in terms of what is legal in baseball. Am I right in that?
I think it's really. I think the writers kind of overreacted to it, though.
I think there's no question that Clemens and Bonds would be high first ballot Hall of Famers at the top of the pyramid if you're going to do that, but for the steroid allegations. I also agree with Alec, though. Once we have my problem with this whole thing, it's once we have Bud Selig. And once we have Joe Torre and Bobby Cox and Tony La Russa.
Rodriguez.
Yeah, but all those guys were the coaches of these guys. Mark McGwire's not in the Hall of Fame because he used steroids. Tony La Russa was his coach, was his manager. No effect, right? So the fact that everybody else involved is somehow in the Hall of Fame, and the people who are now passing judgment on McGwire, I don't know if Vinny and Alec, you guys may not even been alive at this point. But when McGwire Sosa home run chase happened, I can't remember who the reporter was, but they were outside McGwire's locker, and he saw the little vial or whatever it is on the top shelf locker. That shows you how open it was. He didn't even bother to hide it. Mm-hmm. On the top shelf of locker, I believe it was the Androstrom. It was up there.
The Andro.
On the locker.
Yeah. It was open at that time at typical GNC stores.
Right. Well, but
it was still there.
The reporter asked about it.
And it was caught on video, too.
It was on video. What happened to the reporter? You guys remember?
Nothing.
Oh.
He got railed out by his
colleagues.
Did he?
Okay.
All of his colleagues accused him of invading Mark McGwire's privacy. And all those guys who are writing those things are now saying Mark McGwire can't get in the Hall of Fame because he used a thing that none of them cared about at the time. The fact that, as we always call him, the curly-haired boyfriend, right, the Boston Globe, and all of his ilk are now doing that is insane. And I understand the argument that we want to keep the sport pure, but you tell me when that point was.
Never.
That's the question.
Never.
It was never pure. It was
It's
always
never
full
been
of cronies. They can pretend all they want. And hell, even guys that are already in. I mean, I understand there's some saying that, just because of people like that doesn't mean we should have it afterwards. But at the same time, I see people year by year, and I see more and more people feel like these people were martyrs in a way. And I mentioned this on like if anything, the more they keep keeping these people out, the more these people become martyrs, fans. And the more they keep saying no, the more animosity and the more anger that's directed towards the media and the less respect that a lot of fans have for it. Yeah, there might be some that say otherwise, but at the same time, they're also guilty of just lying in general. And fortunately, more and more people are speaking out against that.
Okay, so Vinny, you're obviously younger than a lot of us here. What is your take in terms of McGwire, Sosa, that whole thing? Because with what Evan said, a lot of us, we remember that whole home run record chase, rather.
This is want to know my personal opinion?
Yeah.
Palmeiro, Canseco, McGwire, Sosa, Bonds, Clements, Sheffield, Ramirez. Hell, I'd even go so far and say Cano.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem going for anything. I'm as blunt as that. I know that sounds kind of bold saying that, but
fine.
I really don't care. It really comes down to that. Yeah. I really don't care. Mainly because I just find that so many people from baseball are just so full of it, and they're just so full of hypocrisy to the point where I feel bad for Joe Jackson and I feel bad for Pete Rose, because these people who have assassinated their character constantly over and over again, they're begun to see, those people that they've been trying to attack for all those years are being seen as the good guys by many fans. And Shaughnessy and all these other people like
Steven Marcus.
All of them. I think they've just done an incredible damage to the sport's reputation from fans. I mean, granted, they may see the game, but they're starting to really like and appreciate the Hall less and less and less as the years goes on. Mm-hmm. And also, when you have someone like Selig in there, when you have someone like, La Russa and Cox and Torrey, people that knew exactly what was going on and they didn't care, but, they get a
players that got them there.
The players that got them.
Right.
I understand why there might be a case against it, but at the same time, don't tell me that it was always bad. No, everyone knew. All the people that are voting, all of them knew. They're just trying to save face because they're trying to pretend the sport's so pure when in reality it never has been pure. Mm-hmm. Nothing is pure. The more you keep pretending it's pure, the more people are going to realize it's not. I mean, look at Ellen DeGeneres. So many people, again and again, so many people say that, she's so nice. But, a lot of people also figured that, maybe there's some smoke behind that curtain. It turns out a lot of people don't really see her that way, and it's more than meets the eye. You can put on whatever facade you want, but at the end of the day, people know how you truly
here's
are.
an actress that we didn't think we'd talk about, but yeah, that's all right. It's all good.
Yeah, it's sort of like that.
It's Salil Moon Fry, my friend. I'm waiting for Salil Moon Fry.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I really don't care. I mean, even if you're doing steroids after it's banned, honestly, so many people do it. It's one thing about getting caught, and considering they do it so much, and because cheating, it happens. I don't care. They do it so much. Don Sutton even cheated too.
I'm kind of with Vinny on this, and Evan, my apologies, because I know that you and we've talked about this so many times, but I know that we're in the same boat here. Major League Baseball made their decision after 2004.
Yes. As
to what was considered good or what wasn't. So if you were not caught before that dividing line. I generally don't care. So with Bonds, Sosa, Clements, tell
Ortiz
me.
did it. Ortiz is in the same exact report as Sosa.
Yeah,
People
Ortiz.
Yeah, but let's forget about Ortiz because Ortiz isn't here. We'll talk about him next year. So, but for those three, is there anyone here who can tell me why any one of them should not be in the Baseball Hall of Fame based on the fact that C-League is in?
Go on, Dave.
I think Dave wants the floor.
So,
All right, do it.
First of all, respect both sides of the argument. What you guys make good points. What was legal, what wasn't legal. What frustrates me about, particularly, I'll just say Bonds, Clements, Sosa, to an extent, Sheffield and Ramirez. All of them had the talent to be in the Hall of Fame on their own. But you look at it, to me, there's like a dividing line where you can almost just like look at the statistics and see just where it just got jacked up, literally.
True.
And all of a sudden they become from all-stars to superhuman. Now you might say, of course, Bonds had the career after the age of 38, 39, whatever it was. It just, in my opinion, he saw what happened to McGwire and Sosa. I think he was clean up to that point and was just like, these guys are getting this adulation. I'm sitting here working my ass off and not getting the credit. I'll show you guys. You take a guy with his talent, which is far superior to Sosa and McGwire, and apply that, and you saw what happened. If you look at kind of Clemens before the Toronto couple seasons, he was suddenly kind of a 500 pitcher, looked like he was petering out. And I'm an Astros fan. Here he shows up at age 42 in Houston and suddenly 1.89 ERA, winning Cy Youngs. Then shockingly in the first game of the World Series, his groin gives out, as if the NAPA 42-year-olds who are maybe on something. So it just frustrates me. So in my opinion, I would hold back my vote for those guys. Not that they weren't talented in their era, not that they didn't deserve. I was a huge Bonds fan growing up. Almost my idol. Almost got like an earring with a cross dangling out. But I just struggled to push the button with those guys. McGuire's a little different. He may. He did PEDs, but his statistics are almost a little bit more questionable than some of the other guys. Home run,
Whole century,
batting average, and some other guys. But
fair enough, Roger.
I'm offering both sides. I'm a counterpoint. I'm not saying I completely understand if the writers 2 weeks from now put in Bonds and Clemens. I'm not going to boycott or say, well, that was a mistake. I'll just say there's two sides to the argument. I'm on one side. Most of you guys are on the other.
Yeah, no, I hear. I think the other thing, too, for me personally, and again, just as my personal opinion, all of those writers voted for Clemens, Bonds, MVP, Cy Young over and over. Are we saying that they didn't know what they were doing? Of course they did.
They did.
And now now a lot of those guys are Hall of Fame voters.
Yeah,
and now they're moral.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying the voters are on any sort of high ground at all.
No,
I think that's where I have a problem with that.
So we have the steroid guys before it was banned.
Yeah.
Or then what happens though when we turn it to somebody? Here's the rule, and then you break it. So you have a Manny.
Robinson Cano's going to have a hard time getting in.
Exactly, but right now it's Manny.
Now it's Manny.
And so, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, for me personally, I'm okay with Bonds and Clemens. I'm not okay with Manny Ramirez because Manny knew what was going on in terms of the rules of baseball.
It was kind of funny. It's actually kind of funny. He was suspended for a woman's fertility drug.
Well, that too.
So as the Red Sox fan in the room here, I will say that Manny Ramirez does not have my vote for Hall of Fame. As great as we would not win 2 championships without him, we would not have the greatest cutoff from the outfield of all time, him cutting Johnny Damon off. We would not have Manny being Manny, but Manny tested positive not once but twice after thing was placed. I know we're not talking about Ortiz today. Ortiz's name was leaked from Mitchell Report, allegedly that he was on there, but there's no evidence that he was on there or not on there.
Wasn't Sosa on that too?
It was him and A-Rod were the two names that were leaked. Those are the only two names that were leaked. A-Rod later tested positive. Ortiz never did. So for me, there's an easy dividing line there, and that may make me sound like a homer. But when it comes to Ramirez, I have no trouble saying you got caught afterwards. Kirk, I know I said in our last podcast my least favorite athlete of all time is Heinz Ward. That's not true. He's my actual least favorite athlete.
Man.
Who is it? You know who it is.
I know who it is.
Yeah, say it. The most despicable human on the planet.
That would be Ryan Braun.
That would be Ryan Braun.
Yeah. Okay.
Ryan
Yeah.
Braun.
That was.
Ryan Braun not only tested positive, he tried to destroy the career of the guy who took the sample. He knew he had done it and tried to get that guy busted and lose his job.
Mm-hmm.
That guy should not even be on the baseball field, let alone in the Hall of Fame. He should have been, I don't know, fraud something. It was so bad. That dude has no point. I'm glad the Brewers should never win anything as long as he's on their team. The day he retires and they win something, Ryan Braun needs to be stricken from the books, right? And that's my dividing line too.
Yeah, Evan feels about him the way I feel about Sarah Fuller.
Aaron Rodgers bet his house that Ryan Braun wouldn't test positive.
Whoa.
Story.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. That he would or would not?
That he would bet I think he would bet something. I don't know what it was. We said, if couldn't believe Ryan Braun was on HGH.
He bet his relationship with Danica Patrick. Like, what the hell's going on here with that?
On a lesser player, though, what about somebody like Pettit who tested and then says, hey, I did it?
That's a great thing. And I've said this on the show that I do with Evan, weekly. Andy Pettit is the poster boy for how to sort of like, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And here's how to do it. Yeah. Which is pretty much I fucked up and here's what I did. And again, for me, I mean, I don't know what Andy Pettit sort of like did overall. I don't know that
he's border, but yeah.
Yeah, but he handled it better than anyone. I think an interesting question here for me personally, and I want to hear from a lot of you, is Sammy Sosa. Because like Sosa is statistically someone who should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. But
so for me, if I had, let's say this year I had my ballot,
yeah,
I would not vote Sosa, not because I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I would not vote him because he's in his 9th year and he's at 21%. So I feel that I'd be wasting a vote because it's not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He has no chance in the current way, and if I'm limited on my votes, I'm giving it to somebody else.
Okay. But if you're not eliminating your votes, is Sammy Sosa, Ted, to you, a Hall of Famer?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, because like for Sosa,
hard time getting in because there's also the cork bat incident.
Yeah, who cares about that? I mean, you can say the same thing for George Brett, and no one cares about that.
But there's a lot more with Sosa. And here's the question I want to ask all of you. Because Sammy Sosa, and again, I say this to the older crew here.
More mature, my friend.
The more mature, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So to the people who are not Vinny and Alec, we remember when the Maguire-Sosa battle for the single season Hall of Fame. Right. Okay. So Sosa was a media darling, and some of us don't remember that, but he was. The media loved him until they sort of figured out that he was a piece of shit. Let's just be honest. Rick Riley in Sports Illustrated sort of came out with something where where he asked him to, take a test on PEDs, and Sosa wouldn't, and that was the catalyst for people realizing, like, okay, Sosa was just playing the media. Okay, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with an athlete doing that. They all do that. But once the media sort of like realized that Sosa was playing them, he's like way below Gary Sheffield.
The thing that I never really liked about the baseball media is that they hold so deep grudges. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm trying to like have a whole science. Like, this stuff is why people hate them so much. Like, and with Sosa, like, he never tested positive for it, and they're just making those alleged assumptions. If you, I like you.
Yeah, but there was also sort of the thing that happened in Congress where Sammy Sosa, who loved talking to the media, then all of a sudden, like when it came to Congress, forgot English.
Oh, I don't remember. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, he got up there and they asked him a question. He said, "Lo siento, no hablo inglés."
Okay. And it was embarrassing. It was one of those things where, like, okay, you're a fraud, but now you've got a bunch of media people thinking like, oh my God, I was played. Because Sammy Sosa, and this is not against Gary Sheffield, but Sammy Sosa, if you look at the stats between Sheffield and Sosa, how is Sosa this much below Sheffield if we're not looking at this? And maybe I'm wrong. So guys, tell me I'm right or wrong. I don't know.
I think it's because Sheffield was nicer to the media. Honestly, that's
Sheffield was a jackass too.
Yeah, Sheffield wasn't a media darling.
Oh no, I don't think he was, but I don't know why. I don't know, Jeff, like, I just added him on here, like, he loves Sammy Sosa, and he usually is one that really gets aggressive with people that think otherwise about him. But I think with Sosa, like, I don't know, I think it's probably just because they see that incident, and I think maybe they just don't really see it as that, or maybe they're trying to forget. I don't know the thoughts of every single one of the voters, but that's just my theory. And I think because of Sosa, I personally vote for Sosa. I know that he's not going to make it this round. I think way down. Yeah, I don't care. Like, that's the thing. I know I don't share this with you guys, but I really don't care about this stuff, mainly because, like, the sport is so full of so many corrupt people, and the people that are voting on it are frauds too. Like, I really don't care. It's a museum. It's not a judge for good character. People aren't feeling character about that. I mean, I really don't care. Like, that's really the defining line. I really just do not care when it comes to it.
So, anyone else here?
Currently, I think what also turns off writers is Sammy Sosa's really high strikeout rate.
Yeah, that too, but I don't think it's.
I mean, 600 home runs, you can't. I mean, that's Hall of Fame.
They're not going to look. They're not going to look at that. If they're trying to say that, they're just trying to deflect away from anyone that's actually asking them the real question. Let's be real here.
There's something pathological in the sport about Sosa anyway. First of all, going back to you, Vinny, though, I mean, imagine how much more popular baseball would be if the people in charge of it actually liked the sport.
Oh yeah, I mean, can you imagine that? Yes. Like Sosa, McGuire. Like, the reason as to why I don't care is because, like, these people are the reason as to why the sport had a big resurgence in the late 90s. Yeah. And that's why I don't care. I mean, hell, they're all doing it. And
at that point, they didn't care what they were taking. They were just bringing in the dollars and saving the sport.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they didn't care.
Evan, you've got something that you want
to... Coaches didn't care. Yeah.
No one cared. It just comes down to the fact that, no one cared. And all the writers that are trying to save face and trying to cover their own ass, we know you're full of it. We all know who you are, and we all know what you thought of then, and we all know where to find you on Twitter, and we know that most of us cannot stand you.
Damn.
All right, let's not threaten anybody.
Damn.
Oh no, I'm not threatening them. I'm just letting them know that we know what you thought of.
We know where you live.
But going back to Sosa a second. Like, I'm a Red Sox fan. I now live in Chicago. I married into a Cubs family. And the weirdest thing to me about Sosa here in Chicago now is he's not even allowed at Wrigley until he personally apologizes to the Ricketts family, who wasn't even the owners at the time.
Oh,
like,
wow.
There's something that goes beyond it with Sosa that I don't get. Not just, like, in Chicago, there's, like, some weird pariah status about him, but, like, throughout baseball that doesn't exist with – I mean, let's be honest. You guys don't remember when Sheffield was the shortstop in Milwaukee, like Vinny and Alec, forced his way out of there because he was unhappy with playing time and ended up on the greatest baseball team everybody forgot, the 1992 San Diego Padres, who had five all-star starters and then traded all of them within 12 months.
My Jays, refer to Alomar. What's my Jays?
Yeah, Alomar, McGriff, Sheffield, Benito Santiago, and I can't remember the other. Tony Fernandez, I think was the other one. Like, that was but he forced his way out. He was not a popular guy. He was just call him prickly is a nice way of describing his personality, right? Had an awesome batting stance, but like there's no good reason I can think of. I mean, there at no point was Sosa less popular in baseball than Gary Sheffield. Would you agree with that during their careers? Is there any point where Gary Sheffield's Q rating was higher than Sammy Sosa's?
No, Sosa was always a better player than Sheffield.
Probably early in the careers because Sosa took a little.
The Texas Rangers years.
Yeah. But again, once that home run season happened, from then on it was Sosa.
Yeah, but we're also talking about like whether he was better or not. It's whether he was more popular.
Correct.
And that particular year, it was McGuire and Sosa, like, and I remember this. It was like McGuire and Sosa, like, chasing the record, which is sort of strange to me because it was really not. Sosa had nothing to do with it. It was McGuire chasing it, and Sosa, like, hello, I'm here.
They needed a second person to kind of push it or make it.
Yeah, it was. It was. And the media just sort of loved him. And
the year after the strike, too. So that's brought baseball back.
Yeah. And the reason I bring that up, it's not just so much that Sosa was a bad guy. I mean, a lot of people will say that he is, but.
You can feel that way?
Well, some of the media do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. But here's what I think. There were a lot that, when they were looking at Sammy Sosa at that particular point in time, who loved him and promoted him. And when it all came to the end, some of the other players said, like, no, this guy was a piece of crap. And when Sosa left the Cubs, and I was trying to find it and I couldn't. So the end of Sammy Sosa for the Cubs was, like the last game, he didn't even, he left before the end of the game. And there was another Cubs player who just took his baseball bat and just like whacked the crap out of his boombox. No one cared because like they just figured like, okay, you know what? Screw this guy. So and the reason I bring that up is I think because a lot of the people in the media just fell for Sammy, just realized afterwards, oh shit, we were played. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But we're talking about people who are voting for people who they've met.
Mm-hmm.
And why is Sammy Sosa, whose stats is way less than Gary Sheffield, way higher than Gary Sheffield, this much lower? And Glenn, I'm sort of glad you're here because we're going to be talking about
character.
Yes.
Character.
I see the quotes, Vinny. I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I need to add a lot
thing-
more quotes because
One other thing to add, though, is for Sheffield and Sosa,
Mhm.
really maybe home runs or whatnot, but if you dig into like WAR and everything like that, they're very, very close, within like a couple points, 2-3 points. So analytics, they're extremely higher. But again, I think it's because, and we're only talking, I mean, it seems like a lot, but we're only talking about 20% right now. I think it is what I was saying. I'm not going to vote for Sosa because he's closer to being off the ballot. And up until this year, really, you had a backlog of ballots. You had a lot of guys where some of these voters were maxed out on the number of the votes. I think this year we've cleaned off a lot of guys, and maybe people aren't going to vote their max 10. They're going to vote 8 or 9. So you have room to add him. But then they're going to think, well, if I add him at this point, what's the point? I'd rather give it to Bobby Abreu so he can stay on the ballot than go with Sosa, because Sosa's just not getting in, period.
Mhm.
I think that's what it comes down to.
You don't think people are throwing a vote for
One
next
last
week?
thing real quick. The other guy who's not here anymore, that same thing, was Paul Merrow. If you look at his stats, when you look at WAR, this guy probably trumped both of them, and the guy, he's gone already. So he
the reason why he's gone is because he also came in at a time where they were having very impulse reactions to it. And again,
pretty much a sofa.
I just see these people as martyrs. I see them as heroes, and I see the media as villains. That's honestly how I view it.
I'm actually, Vinny, I'm glad you sort of like brought that up in terms of the whole thing of martyr. And this is a really good segue into when we talked about Schilling. Martyr does exist, whether we want to admit that or not. When I put this site together, one of the first people I got to interview, and I'm so happy I did, was Pete Rose. And when I talked to Pete Rose, he said directly to me was, I'm a lot more famous because I'm not in the Hall of Fame.
Sounds like something Pete would say.
Well,
It's
no,
probably true.
but it's true.
True.
It's true.
And then he charge you $2,000 for an autograph. Sorry.
That's pretty cheap.
No, you're right. And he gets the
Hey,
long lines when he's in Cooperstown for Hall of Fame weekend with his signing booth.
Yeah, true.
I will say that I did not have to pay to talk to him. Evan can tell you who I've had to pay to talk to, and it was not Pete Rose, Tito Santana, but that's another story.
I would say, I know this may not be as popular, but I do think eventually, when all is said and done, I do feel like the ultimate goal of mine is to have both Pete Rose and Joe Jackson eligible. That is my
but they're not on the ballot, Vinny. So
I know that's my ultimate
They have a lifetime ban when
so
they die.
let's talk about Kurt Schilling and
yeah.
Food alone.
and Glenn, because you've been blocked by
I have
Kurt.
been blocked by Kurt Schilling.
Okay.
And it had more to do with, again, Kirk Schilling being Kirk Schilling on Twitter. And I made not an off-color comment, but I said, okay, why should I take any advice from an individual who lost $25 million in a video game company? And then that's when he blocked me. And not that I'm hurt over it, because, again, he's gone downward since then with his views and whatnot that are, I guess, cringeworthy, I'll put politely. But yeah, and I mean, looking at his career, he was a good picture. Is a good picture. We talked about it earlier. Second half of his career, he really came through. I personally would have liked to see more than 216 wins, but again, with the advanced stats, wins aren't all they're cracked up to be. And yeah, he's got 3,000 strikeouts, which again is Hall of Fame worthy. But then if you're going to, and again, we kind of touched on it earlier, if you're going to have a character clause in your Hall of Fame, what does that mean? I mean, what boundaries are we going to put at it? And I'll let a lot go, but if you're going to talk about homophobia, Islamophobia, any other type of phobia that he keeps spouting off, I got to draw that line there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me personally. I mean, I just find it interesting that I went to a Catholic college prep school, and we had an athletic hall of fame. We've had some people go into the pros. And I just find it ironic that if we did something stupid, we could get pulled out of that Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not saying anyone in the Baseball Hall of Fame should be pulled out. I'm just saying that going forward, can we be better? Can we evolve? And when that person up there is speaking, giving his Hall of Fame speech, should we be cringing on what he's going to say, knowing full well who he is going into that speech? And that's all I'll say about Schilling.
Okay.
I think I understand that, but at the same time, like, it's the same thing. I don't think most people really care about that. I think just the average person doesn't really care about his political views. I understand it, but
they're not necessarily political views. I mean, when did homophobia, Islamophobia, transphobia become politics? I mean, that's just human dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I think
some argument with Keith Law of ESPN.
It's kind of like, it's kind of yours is kind of like fuzzy. It's sort of like robotic.
Yeah, your connection's a little weird.
I mean,
yes.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say he got into a little argument with Keith Law of ESPN over evolution.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, when
now
it
you
comes
might
to
have
that,
to log off and log back on.
Yeah, your voice is real screwed up. So, all right, Greg, go, Vinny.
okay, the reason as to why I kind of feel that way about Schilling is because, well, let me explain to you where I'm from. I'm from a town that is very red. I'm from a country that is very red, in an area that is very red. If you were to ask people around this area what they think of Curt Schilling, they'll tell you that they think he's being ostracized because of his political views. Whether that is true or not doesn't really matter. It's how they feel. And I also know that they're seeing him as a martyr. And I think the reason as to why, now, do I support his politics? No. Do I support what he stands for as a person? No. But I think when it comes down to it, I understand that some say, oh, he's borderline. Because of who he is, sort of Pete Rose, because of who he is and what he represents to a lot of people, it's made him bigger than he was before, in a way. And if anything, although it could keep him out, would do big for him, in a sense, keeping him out could actually do a lot of damage in a way to the voters, because it'll increase the narrative that, oh, the media is for the liberals, the left, the Hollywood elites. He'll say all that stuff.
Yeah, no, there's that.
I think when it comes down to it, I just kind of feel like he has the 3,000 strikeouts. He's been here very, very close, and I understand that there's some that don't want to see it because of what he represents.
So to that point, Vinny, I think you're right in terms of, and again, I'm just going to my personal experience when I met Rose, and he told me straight up, I'm more famous because I'm not in the Hall of Fame. He said that. So when I got that article from Ted, you sent that article, which I read from Jay Jaffe, which I think we should talk about here. The Jay Jaffe article, why he's not voting for Pete Rose. Not Pete Rose.
Curt Schilling.
Thank you. Curt Schilling in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Or I'm not even sure that he has a vote, but still, why he wouldn't.
First time this year.
This is his first time.
Okay.
He always posted every year his hypothetical, who he had vote for, and he had always been in Schilling's corner until he finally got his ballot this year, and for the reasons he stated, which you'll go into, he chose not to.
Okay. So, for me, and I read that, and thank you for sending that off in our group chat. I think with Schilling, when it came to that, Jay Jaffe said, if I were to vote for this guy, I would give him a bigger platform. No, you wouldn't. You would not. Because Curt Schilling is a bigger man because you're not voting for him. And it's going to happen again and again and again and again. And I know this sounds sort of weird to say. If you dislike Curt Schilling, if you hate his politics, the best thing that you can do is vote for him for the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's honestly what I believe.
I agree with you completely. I mean, I'm looking at this perspective. As someone who is from a very conservative, area, look at what happened when Trump was banned from Twitter, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
They saw him as a martyr. Look at when Parler was taken out. They see John Matesy, the guy that ran it, as martyrs. Whenever you try to block someone out, they see that you're more famous. You have been viewed by your base even stronger. They see you as someone that was fighting for the cause and was cut out because of the elite establishment. And they see that in Google the same way they see that in the media. They see it like that. The more you keep telling them no, the more that's going to embolden them. It may sound crazy, but that's just how society is right now. Yeah. And no, giving him it would not give him a bigger platform. Ignoring him is going to give him a bigger platform. If Pete Rose was already in the Hall of Fame, I doubt as many people would be knowing who his name was. Hell, how many people would know who Joe Jackson was if he was already in the Hall of Fame? You're making these people martyrs. You're making these people very, very popular, and all it's doing is increasing the negative reputation that your institution has had, and it's only been increasing as the years have gone on. That's how I view it. That's why I have no problem with voting Schilling.
Can I just move this a little bit differently here? I want to actually go back. So going back to McGuire in 1998, still nobody cared. The first time anyone really cared about steroids was when Ken Caminiti in 2002 came out and was like, oh, yeah, I'm using everything, right? And so he was on everything, and Canseco admitted that he was using stuff. And then all of a sudden we had the hearings in 2004. And pretty much everyone at that hearing – so Frank Thomas – I don't know, guys, you remember, he called in from spring training in Arizona. But he's the only person associated with that hearing at this point who's in the Hall of Fame. Everybody else, Canseco refused to talk because he said that he wasn't going to talk because he's under investigation for drug use in Florida at the time. Rafael Palmeiro looked directly into the camera and said, I never used steroids, knowing full well that
he his finger.
Steroids.
Didn't he wag his finger?
Yes, he did.
That's what got him. Sosa forgot English. McGuire got up there and said that if they asked for his pleading the fifth, he said, I'm not here to talk about the past. Yeah. I'm only here to talk about the positive future. And then a
few years later, he makes this interview with Manny, and he's crying his eyes out.
Right. But the one person who was there who's never been accused of steroids was Schilling. And Schilling testified and was so wishy-washy about the whole thing, which is weird to think with how strident he is about everything now. He was just a non-factor. And I wonder if, even despite his political views, if he had come out stronger in that 2004 hearing, if this would have been over years ago. If he had come out and basically been the hero of the moral side of the baseball writers, I think that he'd probably already be in at this point, regardless of the fact he took $17 million from the state of Rhode Island, and regardless of the fact that he bankrupted a video game company, and regardless of the fact he's kind of been a jerk for the last 10 years, right? So I think that hearing was legitimately a dividing point for all these guys' careers.
Then there's the Barry Bonds thing, Balco.
Well,
right.
Okay, but we're going to a different place here. Okay, so I think we sort of talked about these guys. Here's someone I really want everyone's opinion on: Omer Vasquel.
Oh, I think he's a scumbag.
Wow.
If these allegations are true, then then he's not. I would not. He's not getting my hypothetical vote.
Okay.
Legitimate. That's a legitimate. If those allegations are true, that's a legitimate way of
See
holding.
what happens.
And he didn't really have that strong of a Hall of Fame case to begin with.
That's my point. I don't even. When I see a ballot and they have 2 names on it and Vasquel's one, to me it's trash. Whatever your reasoning is, if you have 2 and you have it, whatever. But that's just my opinion. To me, Vasquel is not a Hall of Fame worthy player. Period.
Well,
so I don't care about the allegations because I don't.
Do you think Ozzie Smith is a Hall of Fame player?
Yeah.
Ozzie Smith had some solid offensive value.
And right now, Vasquel is trending down, and people are talking about the allegations. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think he's topped out. I think people see that, hey, maybe he wasn't as good as people started to think he was.
I grew up. Let me talk a little bit about Smith versus Vasquel. So I grew up in the era where Ozzie Smith was the idol. He was the bellwether shortstop, the face of baseball. The Cardinals seemed to be in the postseason every year in the '80s. He was highlight reels on This Week in Baseball, all that stuff, and great by all accounts, a great moral character, a representative of the game. When he got into the Hall of Fame, I think there's no question. At that time, in the public's opinion, there was no question he was a Hall of Famer. It looked like a Hall of Famer. You go back and look at his numbers now, and I'm like, offensively, okay, he did some things. He had that one big home run. Defensively,
crazy, folks.
And so now I'm looking at Vasquel and great comp. It's like, okay, it's basically the same type of player. Great defensively.
You do a blind comparison, you might not be able to pick the two apart.
I wouldn't compare Omer Vasquel to Ozzie Smith. I would compare him to another Venezuelan shortstop who's in the Hall of Fame, Luis Aparicio.
That's a good point, Alec, because there's actually a lot of middle infielders through the 50s, 60s, 70s. As you look at their offensive, you talk about Bill Mazeroski, Lee Fox, some of those guys.
Also hit on Bill Mazeroski.
So, yeah, but in an era where offense was really emphasized, my vote is a no for Vasquel, regardless of the other stuff. I've held that. I'd say not even close. There's some guys that are close, Scott Rowland, Andrew Jones, that I'm not voting for right now that I might think about, but I look at Vasquel. It wasn't like you went to the ballpark and, oh, man, Vasquel's playing today. I can't wait to see what he does. Whereas in the 80s, you went to the ballpark. If you were seeing the Cardinals play, it was like, I can't wait to see Ozzie Smith play. Is he going to do a backflip? Is he going to wow me? And again, this is the 13-year-old me coming out against the 35-year-old me.
Wasn't even best defender on that Indians team.
Yeah, Vasquel played for some great teams and was but Hall of Famer, it's just not there for me.
Kenny Lofton was the best defender on those Indians teams.
And he was one and done.
Yeah,
and that's crazy.
He really deserves a case. Oh, Albert Bell, that's another one. That's another one.
Lofton all day over. And Ozzie was a 76.9 WAR, Omar 45.6. So that's crazy. They're not even in the club. Not even in the ballpark.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ted. Thanks. Because I feel like they're not, but sometimes I look at their statistics, and I think Glenn mentioned it. You put a blind comparison together, and it's like...
Kirk, have you recovered from the shock of everyone's opinion on Vasquel? I know you left for...
I didn't say my opinion of Vasquel yet.
Go for it.
Vinny, take it away.
This is how I personally feel about Vasquel. First off, I say this. 11 gold gloves is 11 gold gloves, like it or not. And I'm someone that
Derek
really...
Jeter has 5, and he wasn't really that great of a defender.
Well, let me get to that, Alec. You see, I'm someone that was always like, when it comes to people with lots and lots of gold gloves that aren't in, I really want you. Like Jim Cock, I really, 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 really want you. Or Keith Hernandez, I really, 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 really want you. And, usually with Vasquel, I'm kind of the same way because I'm one of those people that really, really values defense. However, those people were a little bit better in terms of players as opposed to someone like Vasquel. And I don't know, with Vasquel, I go back and forth. It really comes down to, he'd be like my last pick, but I could easily be swayed by someone else. If you had asked me to vote for a 10th guy, I'd say Vasquel, and I wouldn't really think one way or another about it because, he's been there, and, there might be some that get very, very angry towards Vasquel. I honestly don't care. It's another one of those instances where, hey, you had the gold gloves. I appreciate Gold Gloves.
The Gold Gloves are garbage, though, Vinny.
They are garbage. But at the same time, when you have – I don't know. I just someone that always liked a lot of defense. And, I would not – if I had a coin – I'm honestly coin flip on this guy. I can easily be swayed the other way. I honestly don't really care.
Going back to Gold Gloves and going back to Rafael Palmeiro, remember the Gold Glove he won at first base when he played 16 games that season? Played 16 games
exactly.
at first base. He won the Gold Glove.
But his advanced defensive stats show Palmeiro is a very solid defensive first baseman.
But in 16 games?
Yeah, that's messed up.
All right.
That is messed up.
I'll say this because I don't know, maybe because I have a little website and maybe because I do a bunch of other shit. But if I were to put together the top 100 worst awards ever, it would all be Gold Glove.
Derek Jeter got 5 Gold Gloves just because SportsCenter played a couple plays of him.
I'm not shitting on Derek Jeter. I'm just saying, like, the top 100 ever. Like, Palmeiro, like Evan said.
I want him.
Just, like, a bunch of other shit. Like, the Gold Glove is garbage. You win a Gold Glove, you didn't win shit. I'm sorry. You didn't win anything.
It was interesting, as an Astros fan, Kyle Tucker was the finalist for the Gold Glove, and he was the fourth best outfielder on the Astros. Springer was better. Reddick was better, Brantley was better, and like all of a sudden the return's like, why the heck is Kyle Tucker in the final?
I mean, when it comes to it, it's like, I know that Gold Gloves are kind of meh. I think when it comes down to like Gold Gloves, it's like, it's an award they have. It's for defense. I mean, it's the same thing with Silver Slugger. It's sort of similar.
It's garbage.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
it is total garbage. It's like how do I put this? There have been like cases where in the NCAA where they're working on like, okay, who's going to be what's the coaches poll? The coaches didn't actually vote on this.
Kirk, what do you think about the Lady Bang Trophy? Is that a fair?
Oh, it's a fucking piece of shit.
I think when it comes to the Gold Gloves, I kind of see it the same way as Silver Sluggers. I say, hey, you guys voted as him as a phenomenal defender. You might as well honor it. Do I personally like it? No, but I'm just pulling their own words against them. You gave them the honor
against, but it's not, something that
you're going to tell me. And there's just been so many. There have been so many great defenders through baseball time that were before the Gold Glove.
Yeah, I'm not ignoring those people at all.
Okay, okay. So we're sort of like discussing Vasquel. Let's just move on to Scott Roland.
Oh yeah,
a man.
Yeah. Yes,
a man.
All right, because like at this point,
the next guy
Vasquel. I think we've talked enough about him, but like Roland is a very interesting character for me.
I'll kick it off.
Please.
So Roland to me is a guy. I don't know what year he's in, first 1 or 2 or 3, but I'm still saying no right now. But I'm open to you guys' debate. So that's why I'm going to kick this off and hear you guys debate. Because I just didn't see him as a guy that when you played the Cardinals or the Phillies, that it was like, oh man, Roland's going to kill us today. That's the guy in the middle of the lineup we got to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
He was another guy, and so this is purely subjective, not objective. And so, okay, Roland's pretty good. Look at his defense, top notch. I don't know how many Gold Gloves he has. We all agree we don't care. But if you looked at his play, if you hit to the left side, he was going to get to it, just like some of the other greats like Cooper Jones, Ken Caminetti, all those guys. Offensively, okay, good across the board, nothing standing out.
500 doubles.
That's pretty good, and decent home runs. I'll put him in context of Aramis Ramirez. If you look at their offensive numbers, kind of the same, but if you look at their WAR, there's a big gap.
But Wrigley's like a pinball machine.
So what ended up happening is I got in a debate with another guy. He argues that Scott Roland's a top 10 third baseman of all time. name 10 third basemen of all time that are better than Scott Roland, and I had trouble coming up with it statistically, longevity-wise, defensively, across the board. And so now that guy's got me thinking. Still not there yet. I still think he's kind of on the cusp. He's pretty good. He played in there with a lot of power. I'll put aside some of the injury issues because you can look at Larry Walker and some other guys that had injuries, Todd Halton, which you may talk about. I'm not going to completely blame that on him. So I'm on the cusp. I'm a no for now, but I'd love to hear what you guys say about Hilton.
So Roland's in his fourth year. Last year he was at 35%. Right now he's polling at 65, but obviously that's going to drop. He'll probably be around 55, right in there, maybe a little lower.
He's getting higher, though. He's getting a lot higher with those.
I think you kind of nailed it, though. I see him very similar, his trajectory. Probably will get in faster than Walker, but similar type player. Walker was really solid analytically, not the most popular guy out there, just a solid all-around player. Did a lot of things great, but didn't have, 600 home runs, things like that. And for me, that's how he is. His defense is great. He's definitely top 10 third baseman of all time. So he's an easy one for me, even though, again, when I watched him play, he didn't feel like it sometimes, like a Bonds or something like that, or a Clements. But when you really dig into it analytically, it's not even a debate. He's in.
So here's what I'll say about that. So third base in the Baseball Hall of Fame is like center in the Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
It's the most underrepresented position by far. And if you go by WAR, your top 10 third basemen by WAR all time: Schmidt, Eddie Matthews, Wade Boggs, Adrian Beltre, who's not eligible yet, George Brett, Chipper Jones, Ron Santo, Brooks Robinson, Paul Molitor, Scott Roland. So he's 10th. 11th, by the way, is Edgar Martinez, who was debatably a third baseman. And after him is Greg Nettles. Yeah, Greg Nettles is right after him, who's another interesting case at some point. So at least that way, he's there. I'm actually with David. He won the Rookie of the Year award the same year that Nomar won the Rookie of the Year award, right? And until Nomar got hit by that pitch in 2003, there's no question who had the greater career. Like it was Nomar by far. The difference, Nomar was on the ballot twice. He shouldn't have made it a second time, but he was on the ballot twice and fell off. I just kind of feel like Roland benefited in many ways from just sticking around more than anything else. And he wasn't around a ton of time, and he was on some good Phillies teams. He was on some really good Cardinals teams. But, even on those Cardinals teams, like he was on the 04 Cardinals, if I'm remembering correctly, right?
Yes,
He hit that game, that series home run off Roger Clements.
Yep.
Right, but that team that got swept by the Red Sox in the World Series when we won our first one, he's not even somebody who particularly bothered me when he came up to bat. That team had Jim Edmonds, who was way scarier than Scott Roland.
One and done.
Should have. He was fourth in MVP that year, so I think yeah.
Edmonds should be on this list still. Like, it's a crime that he was one and done. Edmonds was absolutely amazing.
It's Edmonds and Lofton. Again, they didn't like center fielders, I guess.
They just did, again, just bad people.
Maybe. But I'm in the situation, though, where I'm with David. My original thought is no, but as we're looking at this going forward, it's entirely possible I could also be swayed towards yes, just because the numbers are better than I felt they were at the time. But then you have the is he Frank Gore situation, where Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer because the numbers are better than any of us thought they were. So I don't know. I'm willing to be swayed. Again, I understand third base is well underrepresented, and he's 10th all time, which probably puts him in there. But I'm still a slight no for right now.
You know what? The Hall of Fame and the third baseman reminds me of interesting. There's a Hall of Famer who played with the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 20s and 30s. His name is, you probably know who he is. His name is Pie Traynor, and he was called once the greatest third baseman ever. Looking back, he's not that great of a candidate. As a matter of fact, I think he's one of the worst BWAA elected players because he played in a heavy. He may have a high batting average, but look at his OPS, his WRC. They're very low because he played in such an offensive-dominated time.
Roland only finished top 10 in MVP that one year in 2004. Other than that, a couple sniffs at the top 20, 24, and 14. And the 14 was with Cincinnati when he was 35 years old. But that's another thing. I look at MVPs. Did he lead the league in anything? No, he never led the league in home runs, RBIs, slugging, anything like that.
Yeah, but I'm just going, again, they're not here to debate Pie Traynor, but one of the things about Pie Traynor is the era in which he played, they weren't emphasizing OPS. And you can't get mad at somebody for playing the way that they wanted baseball to be played at the time. If Wade Boggs played now, his hype would be ridiculous. I can remember so many people hating him on the Red Sox when he was there because he was content to take a walk in big situations. Everyone's like, swing the bat. And now he would just be like, oh my God, Wade Boggs is the greatest player ever, not just because he put down 26 beers on a cross-country flight, allegedly.
Then, decade later, but then came Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn was kind of the thing with, Tony Gwynn, he was a very exciting player, and he just hit a lot of singles and doubles.
Okay, here's a player that I really want someone to explain to me why he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Can any one of you tell me why Billy Wagner
he honestly
belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Laughed. He is, in my opinion, after Bonds or Clements, maybe Halton, the best player on this ballot.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yep.
If you dig into his stats, it's not even close.
Okay.
Look at ERA plus. I'm serious. Go on to the website. Look at ERA plus for his number of innings, second all time.
All right.
Yeah, he was amazing. Like Billy Wagner. This is a fact right here. 11.9 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched. That is the highest of anyone with at least 800 innings pitched. You realize how impressive that is. Like,
and if you're debating like in football, hey, Tony Baselli, short career, but he was amazing. He left. Billy Wagner, if he would have stuck around a couple more years, and he was still dominant when he retired. The guy retired just because he spend with time with his kids. That's what if you look at, and how can you that's a fact. I'll tell you right now, that is a fact.
It is. Wagner was
Wagner, I think, has the most saves for a left-handed reliever in MLB history.
Dominant. And he's gonna get in. He might not get in by year 10 on here, but he is going to breeze in with the seniors if he doesn't get in.
I think he'll get in before the seniors. I think he'll get in before the seniors. His trajectory's gotten way up.
But he's only got 4 more years. He has to gain about 10 to 15% a year. It's going to be close. So.
Hey, listen, we've seen someone like Larry Walker jump up by almost 22% in his final year.
Tim Raines a while back.
A couple years, yeah.
It's close.
That's another one. I mean, when it comes to those, I do think, the more pressure we put on these voters, there could be a chance, it's a more likely chance that we get, bigger halls and we get the guys we want, like we actually want in the Hall of Fame. I think if we do that more and more, we might actually find a way to get our way. Like,
I'm not a big fan of closers in the Hall of Fame. It's just it's a niche position just coming into it. So I'm not going to say, put all the closers in. So you had those guys in the 70s, the Gossages, the Fingers, the Suitors that would go multiple innings. I get it. Eckersley came along and just was so dominant on both, even as a starter, if you put some of those stats in. And so I was on the fence on Wagner, but really the strikeouts, the dominance, the longevity. And so then I think, okay, there's a bunch of guys like this. If we put Wagner in, it's going to be a train of 20 more guys. But the new breed of closers all blowing out by the age of 20 or 29 or 30. Is that a fastball trying to throw 100? We're just not seeing that longevity, and that was something Wagner could do. He could throw 100. He could do it consistently, and just seeing, and I'm looking, and Alec, you were close to right. He is the second most by lefties. John Franco's 2 ahead of him, 422, 424. But, there's Francisco Rodriguez is ahead of him. And so, there's Joe Nathan, John Papelbon's hanging around there. So are we going to put all those guys in the Hall of Fame? I don't know, but I'm not seeing like a big train. I'm just thinking, again, by the end of it, I think he could be a guy that gets in. If he gets in, great. If he doesn't, then it's just hard to rate closers, in my opinion. But I think he certainly was, if you look at number 6 all time in saves, ahead of Eckersley, and the longevity and the stuff he had, he's a yes for me.
When it comes to like relief pitchers, like it's sort of the same thing when it comes to special teamers for me. Like some people are very, very quiet on them. I love them. Like you want to know a guy I really want to see, but only had 1 year on the ballot. I know he's not on here, but Dan Quisenberry. Oh, man.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
That guy. Oh my God! Like that's a guy that I like. If you were to tell me the closer, if I were to choose any closer, it would be him instantly, no question. Like I would go right straight towards that beautiful mustache of his, and I dip that in bronze. Well, it would probably be his skeleton.
There's some serious man crushing going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
No, my reliever I want to see get another look
Wagner,
is.
I've got Quisenberry. He'd be my second after Wagner.
Yeah,
Probably not heard
Wagner,
this guy. My reliever. His name is Frapone Marblary, I think he's called. He played with the Senators, Washington Senators, in the 20s and 30s. He pioneered the whole relieving spot. He was the first pitcher to record 20 saves in a season, the first to make 50 relief appearances in a season, or 300 in career. And he also started out as a starting pitcher, and he and Lefty Grove have the highest win-loss percentage of that era.
Okay, maybe I'm sorry, Dan. I think someone just took your spot.
Hey, Kirk, before you explode, you're practically having a stroke up there. Give us
Elizabeth, this is a big one.
You feel as strongly, I think, about Billy Wagner as I do about Ryan Braun. So go ahead, although for different reasons.
Wait, for Vinny and Alec, that was a Sanford and Son reference that Kurt was going for.
I know Sanford and Son.
I kind of don't know Sanford and Son. Is that a law firm? But I should mention.
Fuck off.
Red Fox.
That guy you just mentioned, it reminds me of Horace Skillam. Like, this is a football reference. In case you guys don't know, Horace Skillam is basically the guy that pioneered punting. That's essentially what he was.
All right.
Big man crush for Horace Skillam.
Sorry, let's get way far away. Kirk's got this angst.
We got to hear Kirk.
Let's go.
I do, and it's my show. Let's just be honest here. It's my fucking show.
Sure.
He pays the bills.
Yeah.
Billy Wagner sucks.
That's quite an opening.
Okay, Wagner. Did any one of you say, like, hey, he's the best reliever in the league?
Yes.
No, you did not.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, you're lying.
I did.
Yeah, he was better than Hoffman.
He was the best at the game. Rivera was in the American League a lot. Wagner in National League. He was right there. And I am a Tiger fan. I have nothing to do with Billy Wagner. So it's yeah.
Okay. Well, this is not going well for me.
he never led the. Okay, I'll back up Kirk here. He never led the league in saves.
All right.
The guys who never led in wins. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Never.
Let's look at Billy Wagner's postseason.
Oh, come on, 10 innings. I could dig in if I had the time. Dig in and find you 100 guys in the.
Yeah, but you're not. It's me doing it. It's me doing it. Oh, Billy Wagner, postseason pitching. Oh, ERA 10.03. 10.03.
One ERA for each game.
That's ERA over 14 games. 11.2 innings.
Just on some stacked pitching teams.
That's all I got. I have nothing.
I want him more now. I want him even more now.
Okay.
Streisand effect.
10.0 K per 9 innings.
All right. So long story short, Billy Wagner was a great pitcher. But what I ask all of you to do is look at Billy Wagner versus John Franco.
I'm a Franco's top 3 after Quisenberry, then Franco.
Yeah, and that's all.
Well, I want to see John Franco
That's all
too.
I'm saying. I'm not even against Wagner so much as I am pro Quisenberry, who has come up here, so much as
Did I
I
persuade you on Marbury, Kurt?
I like this guy. You're right. I'm with you. I like Furbo Marbury, but I think those are guys who. Billy Wagner is not even close to the next reliever who should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's what I think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Apparently I'm wrong, but that's okay.
I would say just because, like, I would say, don't get me wrong. I grew up around here. I know John Franco. He was the saves leader 3 times. He did lead the Relief Man of the Year award. Wagner only had that once, and he never led it in saves. However, I'd say, it'd be very odd if you keep out the guy with 11.9 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched ratio. that would be very, very odd. I think for that alone, like, I can't put that guy out. Like, and my man crush for relievers,
And he's on the ballot now. Quisenberry's not on the ballot. Franco's not on the ballot.
Okay, well, just
not on the ballot.
fine.
I'll make one more comment about Wagner, then I'll shut up. All right?
Okay.
No, keep talking, please. I love it.
Yes. You're the man, Ted.
Yep. If you're looking at hitters, you look at now, everybody looks at OPS or OPS plus. A lot of people do. When it comes to pitchers, it's ERA plus. Number 1 is by far Rivera. Mario Rivera, he is in his own standard deviation.
Yep.
Number 2 in his own standard deviation is Wagner.
Nah.
And then there's a big gap in everybody else. Go look it up. I'm telling you.
It's true.
It's crazy. There's such a
All
gap.
right, so I'm wrong.
No, well, here's the thing. I don't think he's going to get in on the ballot because even if he gets a jump now, next year's ballot, again, we're not talking about it, but next year's ballot with that 10-person limit is going to make
Another
it
prominent
very hard
revealer who debates.
for people to get up and through because it's going to be Schilling's last. I don't think Schilling, Bonds, or Clements are getting in this year.
Right? No.
Which means it's all of their last year next year.
Bonds
Plus we're
getting
adding
in this.
Ortiz and A-Rod. And everybody else is going in because I don't think anybody's going to end up getting in from this battle.
Yeah,
So
that'd
I
be
think
bad.
even if Wagner takes a 20-point jump, he's probably going down 10 points again next year.
Oh, I'll take
All
that
right,
bet.
well,
That he won't go down 10.
All right, I couldn't help but run with that. All right, so let's look at Todd Halton.
Ooh, this is a guy that really has, like, war his...
All right, Todd Halton, I love.
Underappreciated defender. Probably is one of the best defensive first basemen of all time.
Okay.
Above average.
Gotta understand, he played in practically a living pinball machine.
Oh, sure.
He's in my top 5 for this ballot. He's good. Again,
Top 4.
I think the people that
I'll be right back.
the people that rip on him is the whole anti, Colorado type thing. But again, you dig into his numbers, you got to put him in eventually. And the guys that are gaining right now the most are Roland, Halton, Wagner, and Jones. So those are the guys that are shooting up. So I think he's a slam dunk for me.
Yeah, if you look at his comparables, just similarity scores, it's Bagwell, Martinez, Vlad Guerrero, Orlando Cepeda, Larry Walker, Jim Rice. And most similar by ages is Joey Votto, Johnny Mize, Hank Greenberg, Frank Thomas, Chuck Klein, Will Clark, who's very, very good. Like, those are all guys who are either Hall of Famers or just below. He should be higher up on this ballot than he is.
Here's another thing. Most defensive runs saved by a first baseman. Keith Hernandez has 120, then Todd Halton is 106, then Adrian Gonzalez 99, Pujols 96. John Elrod is 95. He's also someone that I remember seeing the stat where it was compared to like Joey Votto, and the guy was legit. Like when I look at Todd Halton, he's someone that I say, I know that a lot of people want to dunk on core skill, but I actually use that as something that helps him, because I know that a lot of people like to say, oh, it helps you so much. If core skill was truly that's something that helped you out that much, then how come the Rockies have never won the division, let alone won the World Series? How come the Rockies are a team that? How come the Rockies have never been known for a team that's really been that competitive? Like on occasion, yeah, but not really that much. And also, have you ever managed? I mean, Tom's not here, but he could tell you. Tom could tell you right away what it's like to live in Colorado, let alone Denver. It's a mile high above sea level, and you take in less air than you would normally in normal terrain. So, as much as we want to knock on the whole course field thing, in reality, it's more impressive that he got the numbers that he did when he was even there to begin with, because he had so much physical burden on him for being there for his entire career. And when you look at Todd Halton, he is the Rockies pulling through, and I think his batting average and what he accomplished throughout his career, I'd say definitely, absolutely Hall of Fame worthy. And hell, even when you look at the metrics by
could have won the 2000 MVP.
Yeah, you could say that, but he also I don't know, when I look at him, I say, yeah, that guy should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. And plus, I also follow a guy that does really, really push for Todd Halton, and it'd be criminal if I somehow didn't vote for him. So I definitely want him.
He's gained nearly 30 votes, according to Mr. Tibbs' Hall of Fame tracker.
More the barrier.
OPS, top of all the guys on the ballot, he's third behind Bonds and Ramirez. On base percentage, he's second behind Bonds. Batting average, he's first out of everybody.
Batting average, he's first out of everyone. That tells you something. When he's at the top in all these metrics, both traditional and analytical, he's at the very, very top. Not even like top 10 or top 5, like top 3. That's how dominant this guy was. And for those people, like for all we know, he didn't do roids either. So I don't see any issue why you wouldn't have Todd Halton in. I mean, absolutely, without a question, I'd go with Todd Halton. If I were to vote for one guy that was not Bonds, Clements, or Schilling, it would be Todd Halton. It would definitely be Todd Halton. And
you're gonna vote for 4 guys. You'd be voting Schilling.
Right.
No. If I were to vote for guys that were not that, if I had to vote for one guy that was not, well, I'd vote for just one. It would be Halton, because with Wagner would be top 5. but I would. I'm messing with you, Kirk. Don't worry. I would actually have a couple of guys above Wagner, but that's I understand. I don't want him. But Halton, if I had to choose one guy that was not Schilling, Bonds, or Clements, it would be Todd Halton, easily Todd Halton, because it's time that we start using the Coors Field narrative like the opposite direction. Notice how impressive they were in spite of all that, all that burden they had to deal with. So yeah, absolutely Todd Halton.
And great defensively, like Alex said. Anybody against
so
Todd Halton, or should we move on?
One of the guys we haven't talked about here is Jeff Kent.
Yeah, Jeff Kent. That's a guy that a lot of people don't really mention. Like Jeff Kent, like he had the most amount of most amount of home runs for second baseman, and
okay, sure, but I mean, like
character clause, another bat, also terrible with the media.
All I see is that mustache, and that's it. I don't care.
That kills it.
No. The mustache makes me want it more.
Oh, that's right. It goes back to the Quisenberry argument.
That is,
yes.
He's got a mustache fetish.
For Kent, I would vote for Ken if I had unlimited votes. If you could vote as many guys, yes or no, he'd get a vote. He's about 15th somewhere there on my ballot. So I wouldn't vote for him just because I don't have enough space. But also, he's in his 8th year, and last year he was at 27.5, so I'd feel like I'm throwing a vote away if I was.
I think he definitely gets in by the Today's Game committee.
Yes, I definitely think he would.
Get it in this way. There's no way. Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, Harold Baines made it after being fallen off the ballot, so I don't really.
Well, Fred McGriff is definitely going to be put in by the Today's Game committee in 2023.
Fred McGriff is the one player who benefited from them going to 10 years as opposed to 15. because he's going to get in sooner than he would have had they kept it in.
Yeah.
But what I will say is Kent is just an interesting character. I mean, he was almost equally unlikable as Bonds on those Giants teams. I will say he's the greatest person on this thing who was ever on a season of Survivor.
Hilarious. His Obama rants.
Wasn't Jimmy Johnson the football coach on?
He was, and Gary Hogaboom, among others. But he also had the single dumbest cover for an injury ever, that he slipped in the bed of his truck while washing it when he actually was in the motorcycle.
I remember watching that beef history video between him.
Yeah. But he's someone who's under consideration for me. I'd have him. I have him in the Roland category. Again, he's not going to get in because he's too far with too short a time to get there. But he's one of those people who I remember when towards the end of his career they're talking about him as a Hall of Famer, and I was like, are we sure about this? And then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, he's pretty far up there for most second basemen. Because when you look at it, again, he is – where is he in second baseman? He's the 21st greatest second baseman according to Jaws. His other folks who are like him are Joe Gordon, who's a Hall of Famer, won the 42 MVP during World War II, but otherwise is kind of questionable. But it's
was one of the best defensive second basemen of all time, Joe Gordon.
Okay, but Torrey Hunter, Aramis Ramirez, Robbie Cano, Miggy Tejada, Dave Parker, like all the people around him are people who are close but not quite there. So he's there on the Hall of Fame monitor. He's there in the Hall of Fame standards. He's halfway there in gray ink. I don't know. I'm 50-50. I can be convinced, but I think Ted's right. It doesn't make any difference because he's not getting in this way.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like Jeff Kent is someone like if there was more votes, like if there was unlimited, I would have him. But if you're just content, I would not vote for Jeff Kent. There's some guys on here that I would definitely go after more as opposed to Jeff Kent. And later on, you've done the veterans committee, sure, but he's not there just yet. So I'm not voting for him here.
Well, I want to add on to what Alex said. You were saying he'd get in for the today's era. I think he's going to get screwed there because 2023, Bonds, Clements, if they don't get in, which it's not looking good. You got Schilling, maybe not, will be there. Kenny Lofton, Palmeiro, Sosa, Kevin Brown, Fred McGriff, Bernie Williams, John Franco. He won't be available then, so you have to wait until 2025. So you add in all those. Then you got
the managers.
No, yeah, exactly, and you got Sheffield, Kent, and then Delgado, Garcia, Parra. There's at least 20 guys in that one group. Kent's out of anybody who's been screwed by the steroid guys, it's probably been Kent. So he's in big trouble.
One thing I said, and it was one of our chats about Kent, was there's 4 candidates on the ballot that have ever won MVPs: Bonds, Clements, Sosa, and Kent. And Kent beat out Helton's best year. Helton batted like 373, but for whatever reason, they put Kent 1, Bonds 2. I've actually heard some good points that have pulled me down on Kent. I'm a pro-Kent guy. I think one of the greatest second basemen offensively. Defensively, a lot to leave desired. He was a late bloomer. Didn't really start clicking numbers until he was 28, 29 years old, but held on for a while. But if I'm going to, right in that Roland category, so right on the edge. He's a plus. He's in for me now, but like most of you guys said, he's not going to really get in. So it's going to come down to a later committee. And he was not likable by the media. I don't think he was likable by a lot inside the game. So he may be just that guy that keeps turning left and right, and nobody likes him.
Those Giants teams with Kent and Bonds and Aubrey Huff, those teams were like they would not win any popularity contest.
Yeah.
Huff came later on.
Okay.
I would like to even flying the clubhouse walls of those teams.
Yeah,
Aubrey Huff is a whole nother level of Schilling.
Yeah, that's like, you say about Schilling, but at least he has, the career with Huff.
Never made an all-star game.
The Sorry, the greatest thing about Aubrey Huff, I just have to say this, it's completely
When he
off.
wore a bikini?
And if you played MLB The Show 2009, every single time Aubrey Huff came up, he played for the Rays then, there was a single heckler in the stands who would be like, who names their kid Aubrey?
Drake's parents?
And I was like, that is so mean. But I thought to myself later, oh, they must have known. Like, that guy was a jerk. And they decided to put it in the game. But if you ever play MLB The Show 2009, which I'm sure you guys all have still on your PlayStation 2s.
I have those
All
7.
right, so hold on. We're saying Aubrey Huffer is a jackass? I had no idea.
Yeah, it's weird. So
Yeah.
There's one of the best. I like Kent, but I wouldn't vote for him. Above borderline Hall of Famer. It's just that there's been two particular second basemen that have been one and done by the writers that I think should get a second chance, and I'm hoping that they do. Those being Lou Whitaker and Bobby Grich.
Okay, yeah, but
Bobby Grich especially.
I know.
That's not possible.
No, I say
here,
Bobby
so.
Grich especially mainly because, like, at least someone like Lou Whitaker has been looked at by the Veterans Committee. Bobby Grich has not had that yet.
No.
But don't get me wrong, I want Lou Whitaker in too, so don't get it twisted.
Go ahead, Kirk.
All right, so Andrew Jones.
Yes,
Yes.
he's probably one
Someone
of the
who's
greatest
possible.
defenders of all time.
Yeah, Andrew Jones, so fun to watch.
He and Willie Mays are the greatest defensive center fielders of all time.
And I went after Bill James for his take, and I said, "Man, this take is freezing cold."
Oh, how the mighty have
He
fallen.
hasn't he's still going against him. People are tearing him up on that, but
As they should. I mean, as they should. And when I look at Andrew Jones, I mean, yes, you could say about longevity, but listen, for that 10-year stretch, he was considered the best center fielder in the game by far, especially defensively. I mean, and yes, he does have those 10 Gold Gloves to back it up. but even besides that, he is someone that, when he took at his WAR is higher than some center fielders that are already in. When you also look at just in general, I understand that he bottomed out near the end of his career, but keep in mind, not everyone's going to be completely clean like that. And it happens. Yes, he had that flash in the pan, but listen, he was the real deal. And,
he came in at 19 years old and was a star.
Yeah, just 10 straight years. And, when he was 29, so he really peaked, where people will reach their prime. So, but not every player is going to be like that.
Can I do this?
I tell you, when he hit 30, he was done. He was awful once he hit 30. The guy was awful.
Maybe he was
And
23.
he ended his career in Japan.
Are you questioning his birth certificate?
I have some questions about the Curacao accuracy. I mean, as great as he was at 19, it doesn't really matter. So let me take it a different way. Let's just say he came in at 23 and played till he was 33 or 34. Would your argument be different? People say he flamed out at.
No, he was a very good defensive center fielder. He was a great offensive center fielder.
400 plus home runs. A lot of people say, well, he didn't get 2,000 hits. Well, that's not a problem to me.
Yeah, I have to say he is, according to WAR, the 11th greatest center fielder of all time.
Where's that at?
Number 10 is Kenny Lofton, I would like to point out.
Kenny Lofton.
Who is my bang the table guy. But it's Mays, Cobb, Speaker, Mantle, Mike Trout, Ken Griffey, Joe DiMaggio, Duke Snyder, Beltran, Lofton, Jones. And behind him are Richie Ashburn, Andre Dawson, and Billy Hamilton. All of them are the old Billy Hamilton, not the young one. All of them are Hall of Famers. So, he's right in there, even with the shortened career and the precipitous fall off the cliff. And you have to say those Braves teams, as much as they were known for their pitching, it was Chipper and Andrew. They were the offense on those teams. They were the
Javier Lopez was pretty good.
Oh, okay, true. That is true. He was.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm of the opinion, again, he's right in the middle for me. I actually lean slightly yes on him as opposed to slightly no on Kent and Roland. I'm legitimately coin flip. But I actually lean slightly yes on Andrew.
I'll come back and say about the same. Lean slight no. A couple of things that bother me is the 254 lifetime average is just not something you see for an outfielder as good defensively as he was. Just as an example, Omer Vasquel was 272, and also he just didn't walk a lot. And I know that's a minor thing, but his on base percentage.
Well, Reggie Jackson has a 262 average.
That's fair. 500 home runs versus 434. But Andrew Jones' on base percentage is 337, and to frame it right above
He had some wheels though.
Above him is Shane Victorino, and below him is Omer Vasquel. So that's below Vasquel is Hunter, and after that it's all pitchers. So of all the candidates on the ballot, I'm just sorting by the ones on the ballot. The last three are Jones, Vasquel, and Hunter. So didn't get on base, didn't hit for an average. Good power, good defense, but I'm just a slight no for now. But he is on my future consideration radar. He's in his now fourth year, same as Roland. So those are two guys, and Bobby Abreu, who we may talk about sooner, that I'm still kind of coming around on.
Want to talk about Bobby Abreu then? I mean,
Liche.
Anybody else got anything on Andrew?
Liche, I can talk about Bobby Abreu because I actually spoke to some big fan of Bobby Abreu actually online.
El Candush. That's what they call it.
Okay. Yeah, when you look at Bobby Abreu is someone I would consider him the most underrated guy on here. Mainly because if you just look at his numbers, he's only one of 7 players ever to have recorded at least 900 career extra base hits and steal at least 400 bases. Who are the other ones? Ty Cobb, Hall of Famer. Tris Speaker, Hall of Famer. Craig Biggio, Hall of Famer. Honus Wagner, Hall of Famer. Paul Molitor, Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds, still on the ballot. That alone could tell you that Bobby Abreu was, as underrated as he was, only had a 2 All-Star. And, he also did stuck around. But at the same time, his batting average was still very, very high. It was 291. This is also a guy whose WAR was 60.2. That is roughly, when it comes to WAR, that is 10th on this, tied with Andy Pettitte. And not only that, as for the WAR 7 numbers, he's also 41.6. When I just look at someone like Bobby Abreu, he's also 50.9 JAWS. I mean, I'm someone that would vote for Abreu just to make sure he stays on this ballot because I think he's someone that I believe deserves discussion as the time goes on. Do I think he's going to make it this year? Obviously, I don't. But I would not ignore him because, listen, the facts are in the numbers. Don't look at the accolades, look at just the pure basic numbers, even the WAR, it's in his favor. I just vote for him just to make sure he stays on here because I do think he is someone that deserves intense discussion.
I'm right there with you, Vinny. I feel the same way. You're going to hate this, but my 10th spot came down to 2 guys. It's Abreu to keep him on or Schilling. And so I tabled Schilling for 1 more year, which I'd always voted Schilling in my hypothetical. So I took away Schilling and gave my last spot to Abreu just to keep him on because I feel the same way you do.
Abreu was actually the last guy added on mine. I was thinking between Vizquel and Abreu. However, the reason as to why I went with Abreu, I just recently went with Abreu over Vizquel, is because the more I really look at Abreu, I say, wow, this guy really had all the numbers when it came down to it, and I say, yeah, why not keep him on the ballot? I mean, I'm so happy he just snuck in because, Jimmy Baseball is not as fortunate, but I'm happy that Bobby Abreu was fortunate enough to make it, and I hope he stays here for the whole 10 years. Or at least, or maybe gets in even sooner. I don't know. I just hope that he's someone that people discuss about more and more because I do think there is a legitimate case there. May not be there in the All-Stars or the awards, but if you just look at how he played, I mean, his numbers comparable to guys that everyone knows as legends. And when you mention guys like Honus Wagner and Ty Cobb and Paul Molitor, people that dominated their positions, and Bobby Abreu is in the same company as them, I mean, you're talking about someone was pretty special as a player. Like 291, and he played for that long, like 18 years. Like, come on. I mean, it's a yes.
There's something interesting about Bobby Abreu. Here are the players with at least 400 stolen bases, 1,400 walks, and 2,400 hits. Barry Bonds, Ricky Henderson, Joe Morgan, Eddie Collins, and Bobby Abreu.
And if all of them are in the Hall of Fame, or in the case of someone like Bonds that's on the ballots, I don't see. I mean, just keep that. When you mention all those names that are already in the Hall of Fame, everyone knows they're legends. I don't see why you could not have Abreu when his numbers are comparable to literal icons that everyone knows are legends. It would be kind of silly not to have someone like that, especially unlike Bonds, that we know of, didn't do any roids. So, yeah, that's an easy vote for me for Abreu, absolutely.
Does anyone have anything to say on Pettit other than what we've already done?
No, I think we kind of covered Pettit pretty well.
Postseason wins.
Yeah, that's really with Pettit, and also someone from this area.
Most wins in the 2000s too.
Indeed, he had entire wins for a whole decade. So, do you think we should probably talk about the guys, like the three guys that are on the ballot for the first time that might actually have a chance? Hudson, Burley, and Hunter.
Can I just say that Michael Kadyer is the worst player on the ballot?
You can say that.
There are
worse than
you can say it, but we all know that's the answer.
There are 6 other batters who they did put on here. I have to go back and find them. I looked at because I had a list prior to this. But there's 6 other batters who are way higher up on this list than Michael Kadyer. So I'm sorry.
Who's lower though, Kadyer or LaTroy Hawkins? I was like, how'd Hawkins do this?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how. He played for 21 years. That's how he made the ballot. And he was never the best guy or even a really good guy. He just stuck around and stuck around and stuck around and never I guess he was just lucky. I don't know. But, he played for the Twins for a long time. Then he just started, hey, here are Cubs, Giants, Orioles, Rockies. Hey, who wants to play
his career with the Blue Jays.
Yes, he did end his career with the Blue Jays. But no one's going to vote for Troy Hawkins But, yeah, when it comes to all these first ballot guys, the only 3 I can really look at having a chance are Burley, Hunter, and Hudson.
To even stay around, a chance being to stay till next year, really.
Well, yeah, I feel like, for me personally, Burley was very, very dominant when it came to his defense as a pitcher, and Hunter, like it or not, he was decent. He was a pretty good hitter, and he was, like it or not, has those gold gloves. I feel like the odd man out here is Tim Hudson, and I mean, I don't want to knock on Tim Hudson. This guy has 222 wins. He also is someone that every single team in the majors, only 14 other guys did that. And I don't know, when you look at someone when I look at a guy, let's say Tim Hudson, I see him as someone that's like, okay, he might get a vote, and he always had a winning record every single year. And, out of everyone that has a winning percentage above 600 and out of 200 games, 14 out of 21 are in. And in a way, so there's like a 2 out of 3 chance he'd make it. However, when it comes to someone like Hudson, I mean, would I really take someone like Tim Hudson over the guys that are already on the ballot? No. Is he the best pitcher on here? No. I would take Schilling, Clements, and Wagner especially over him. And even though I didn't vote for him this year, I'd vote for Pettit over Tim Hudson because he was very dominant in the playoffs. So, I'm going to vote no for Tim Hudson, and I think this is really his best chance. I'm guessing you guys are feeling the exact same way on him?
Yeah, he's a no. Just not enough spots.
really like him.
Burley's going to be interesting. Burley will probably get the 5%, I think. It's going to be close for him, but I think the other two are going to fall short.
Got the perfect game.
Yeah, Kirk's going to owe me a beer here.
Yeah.
We said on the pod that the people coming on would get at least 7.5% of the votes, and Burley's going to get me 5% on his own. So all I need is a couple more for everybody else.
I mean, as much I want to see Torrey Hunter make it. When I saw Torrey Hunter when I was younger, I saw this guy. Wow, this guy was literally a demon as for his defense. And yes, I know that he stole the base for Barry Bonds, but with Torrey Hunter, I've always saw him as a great center fielder. But at the same time, with 10 votes, I can't vote for him. That's as simple as that. I mean, as much as I want to be nice to Torrey Hunter, I got to be honest here. I had those 10 guys, he would not be one of my 10. I'm guessing everyone feels the same way.
Yeah, he was a nice player.
Andrew Jones. There's Andrew Jones. Why vote for Torrey Hunter when you have a better player with Andrew Jones?
Yeah, you might as well vote for Andrew Jones. I mean, I don't know why you would vote for. I mean, Grant, to be fair, Hunter was the better hitter than Jones. However, let's be real, Hunter at his peak was definitely better at his position than Torrey Hunter. Yeah, and as for Burley, that's really the only guy I could see making 5% here because of his defense. And, he's fifth.
And the perfect game.
Yes, perfect game. And a no-hitter, don't forget. I mean, everyone's up with that perfect game. He also had a no-hitter, too, back in 2007.
And he had a thing for, getting out there and just getting out fast.
Yeah.
He was.
2 hours, 12-minute game.
Burley only needs about 7 more votes out of 60 unknown ballots, 60% of the unknown ballots to get the 5%. So
I'm very confident he's going to make that. Burley, I'm not going to vote for Burley because of the 10, but again, he's one of those people where I would want to see him be discussed more. The reason why I had Abreu on and not someone like Burley is mainly because Abreu's in special company with literal legends of the game. And even though Burley was definitely one of the best when it comes to defense, I would say because the names associated there, I'd give it Abreu. But that's not saying I don't want Burley. If there were more votes, I would definitely put Burley in. But considering that there aren't enough votes, I have it like this.
So I have a question for you guys about somebody who's not on the ballot because they didn't play long enough. So 1 year short of being able to be on this ballot was Josh Hamilton.
Oh, man.
So Hamilton, in order to be on a ballot, you have to play for at least 10 years. Hamilton, talk about somebody whose career was entirely ruined by drug usage. He only ended up playing 9, so he ended up just short. If Hamilton was on this ballot, how would you feel about his chances?
For me, he'd be below Torrey Hunter, but good player, just not there.
A lot of demons, though.
I mean, yeah, Josh Hamilton, with me, I never really liked their rule of only having I would prefer someone, let's say, had 7. I never really someone for just 10 because I guess probably because I know a lot about the football one, and mainly because there's a guy that was in there that played for 6 years, but he was very dominant position. Josh Hamilton, when he was there, he was the Texas Ranger. I know there was Adrian Beltre there, but when I was younger, when I saw someone Josh Hamilton, I saw, that's the Texas Rangers. That's the Texas Rangers. And during his peak, he was one of the best players in baseball. And I understand about their rule. And again, I have lots of feelings in there. I don't care if there was. I personally would be someone that, if he was on here, I'd probably put him on there before Hunter or Burley or Hudson, actually, because of how much of an impact he had on those Texas Rangers teams. I understand the rule, and I know my own thoughts of it, and I think it's BS and everything, but, it is what it is. Maybe down the line, maybe in 20 years, they could revisit this. Yes, he had drug usage, but, again, the same
other things.
But not drug usage in a way that improved his situation.
Oh, I know. Don't worry.
So, but unlike some of these other guys, he won an MVP. He was top 10 in MVP 3 times. He didn't start his career until he was 26. He was done at 34. Drug stuff. But at least in terms of his overall peak, the 5-year peak between 27 and 32, or 31, there wasn't anybody in the game who
was better than him.
He was in the top 5 in the game during that entire 5-year period.
I mean, he was also in the MVP voting. Like all those times, he was like top 5 in MVP. He was like top 10 in MVP 3 times. I know he was like top 25 one time. Like with me, I understand about the rule, but I would personally say because his peak, like again, Josh Hamilton was one of the best players like in that era, and because like it's kind of when I really started to get into the sport. Like that was someone I kind of have a soft spot for. Like he's not the one I have the softest spot for. He'll be up in a few minutes. That's David Wright. That's someone who I really have a soft spot for, a little bit too tender. But I would say no, very very tender. Like I had one time I did a project in elementary school about him. But yeah, Hamilton. It's like what. Yeah,
5 years ago in elementary school when you were there.
No. Yeah, I'm young, but I'm not that young. But I think I don't know. Like I feel like they should change something like that because I don't know. It's like yes,
so you're saying it's supposed to 10 if you have 9, but have legitimate circumstances for discussion like an MVP.
I don't think it would matter. I don't think they would.
Oh, I'm not saying they would vote for him, but I'm just saying
Just put him on.
I mean, come on. You can't tell me that Hamilton's a better player than Michael Kadyer. You can't tell me he's a better player than LaTroy Hawkins or Shane Victorino. You can't tell me that they're
the Flying Hawaiian did have.
You know who else is a guy that had a very short peak, and it looked like he was going to be a Hall of Famer. He played 10 years, but he didn't make the ballot, and that was Grady Sizemore. From 2006 2008, he looked like he was going to be the next big thing in Major League Baseball. But then injuries, of course.
The key piece in the trade of the Expos actually making a trade to win something when they traded for Bartolo Colon from the Indians. Sizemore is a key piece in that.
It would be interesting. I'm guessing maybe we would all agree that Dale Murphy's been short so far, but if you look at his 8 or 9 year career from the age of 24 to 31, when he was MVP 1-1, 7-9, Silver Sluggers, 11 RBIs. That's a guy that if you shorten his career like Josh Hamilton, would have just as much a case. It just was the front and the back end of his career that.
Right, yeah. Dale Murphy is someone who, when he was playing, everybody thought was a Hall of Famer, and then he came up on the ballot and somehow never made it through.
Yeah.
With Dale Murphy, all these people want to talk about characters. Bro, this man won a World Humanitarian Award. All they do is just knock on anyone that does anything bad to their liking, but they never want to honor people that have actually done things that are objectively morally right. Which is why I hate the character clause. It's because way too often they don't use it to honor people; they use it to discriminate people. And the biggest example of that is someone like Dale Murphy, who not only was he a great player with the Braves, 2-time MVP. I mean, the guy literally legitimately cared about people. So if you care so much about character, bro, he's your guy right there, absolutely. But at the same time, he's not on this ballot, so I can't even mention.
His next time is 2024, modern era. Here's the other guys that I put on my list. There's about 11 guys, not counting managers. You got Whitaker, Tiant, Thurman Munson, Dwight Evans, Bobby Grich, Keith Hernandez, Tommy John, Rick Russell, Dale Murphy, Craig Nettles, Don Mattingly, Dwight Gooden, Jim Catt, Dave Parker, all those guys. And what happens is when they do those things, everybody's allowed 4 votes. And it's cronyism at its best. That's what happens here. But how's anybody from that group going to pull ahead? It's a mess.
Why else do you think I prefer bigger than I know that a lot of people always say, you keep it small. If you look very back then, you notice that they actually been putting less and less and less people per year than actually more. I know they keep saying, keep it small. Bro, back when you were younger, they didn't do that, so stop punishing us. And I say us as in me, myself, as someone. I don't want the same thing to happen to you, and I want to help you guys out. And hell, like I said, I want to do the same people from the 1800s. I don't care. I want to help everyone. No, I'm not saying I want every Joe Schmo and Mark Mendoza, and I'm not one of those people. But at the same time, these are legitimately iconic players. Like Thurman Munson, oh my God, like he barely, he died just barely on there. And everyone thought of him as a Hall of Famer. Like when I saw one of those plays, they were all seen as a legend, an icon. Don Mattingly, oh my God, like that's another huge name. Keith Hernandez, I mean, shit, this guy's number is even retired by the Mets.
I break some news here.
Huh?
I want to break some major baseball news.
Oh, what happened?
George Springer's signing with the Blue Jays.
Congrats to you.
Hey, I'm excited.
Congrats, man.
Excited.
I'm sorry, David, and congratulations, Alec. So,
but yeah, going
Inevitability.
speaking of Dave Parker, like if there was a fifth spot I would able to vote for besides, Marvin Miller, Ted Simmons, Lou Whitaker, and Dwight Evans, he would be my number 5th easily. When I see Dave Parker, like the Cobra, I mean, badass name. And when you thought of those Pirates teams, you always thought of, yeah, and Munson too. Like Munson was the Yankees in the '70s, and I'm like saying, I mean,
Munson was the captain. Mattingly was the Yankees when they sucked, and he won an MVP, batting title, together. But again, another guy that was shortened because of injuries.
That's
so,
the short
Kirk,
neuter injuries were really good.
I think we're all good. Is there anything else we need to do?
Well, let's do our vote.
Do a vote here?
Who are we voting for?
Oh, we're going to do a vote?
I don't think so.
I have to think about things? Oh, okay.
No, don't worry, man. I mean, we've been thinking about things.
So are we saying we vote up to 10 guys and we send them to Kurt?
Oh, God, no, please don't.
Yes, please.
Okay, 10 guys, send them to Kurt.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Why don't we just say them, guys? Like, take a minute and go through.
I've got my 10 already.
I'm 4 beers in.
All right. Go ahead. If you got it, go ahead.
So again, remember, I'm taking into consideration the politics of the ballots and all that crap that is a bunch of BS. But
yeah, absolutely.
I've got Bonds, Clements, Halton, Roland, Wagner, Manny, Ramirez, Sheffield, Jones, Pettit, and Abreu.
I got Bonds, Clemens, Halton, Schilling, Roland, Abreu, Ramirez, and Pettit, and Burley.
For the record, there are 2 Ramirez's. We need to be more specific about that.
Manny.
I didn't mean the Ramirez. I'm sorry. I meant Sosa. I meant to say Sosa, not the 2 Ramirez's.
Right.
I have Schilling, Clemens, Bonds, Roland, Wagner, Halton, Ramirez, Jones, Sosa, and Abreu. That's 10.
Did I say Abreu?
Yeah, I said Abreu. I said
did
Abreu.
I say Abreu?
Yes, you said Abreu.
All right. I'm going through this, guys. I only got 9.
Okay, that's fine.
So I have them in alphabetical order, my thing. So I have Andrew Jones, Barry Bonds, Bobby Abreu, Kurt Schilling, Gary Sheffield, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, Scott Roland, and Todd Halton. I don't have Manny because I have personally the line in the sand of testing positive after they had testing. That's my personal line in the sand. I know it doesn't matter, but that for me is a difference. So. Anyone else?
I only go 4. I'm going to go Kent, Wagner, Halton, and Schilling. That's it. That's the only 4.
I understand why, too. And I do think one thing we did not mention, we should because it happened yesterday. We did have the passing of another Baseball Hall of Famer. I always feel like Kirk and my podcast is a large portion devoted to people who have died, unfortunately. But Don Sutton passed away only at the age of 75. And we've had got to be 10 Hall of Famers die in the last, I don't know, since May. Like the
Allen would have been 11th.
Yeah, far
I'm
too
sorry?
many.
Allen would have been 11th.
Yeah, and one thing for you. Sorry, I have to get this off my chest. I was going to save it for our podcast. I'm going to do it now. Fuck you, Hall of Fame. And here's why. The Football Hall of Fame managed to get it together where they had a vote where everybody could do it online for 8.5 hours.
Yep.
And managed to do it. And baseball was like, too hard.
No, they said it was too hard, and they said that their process was too sacred to be on Zoom. And you know what? You know what happened? Dick Allen, one of the most requested guys, died. So they and guess what? Because of that, I blame them. Because of that poor man had to literally he never got the satisfaction of being told by the people in charge that he was a Hall of Famer. And because of that, you've hurt this man's image. You've hurt this man's image. You've hurt this man's. You're like, this stuff is pretty serious, and not only that, it's absolutely embarrassing. And it's because of that. It's because of their incompetence, and we're just not understanding how technology works. Is why we're probably not going to have anyone make the Hall of Fame this year. Good on you. You deserve all the blame.
We still need Glenn and Kirk, right?
Okay. Here we go.
Schilling?
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Kurt Schilling. He's top on my list. We'll go.
What a twist!
You're killing me. We'll go Clements, Bonds, Roland, Wagner, Sheffield, Halton, Jones, Pettit, Abreu, and Hudson.
Hudson gets a vote.
Kirk, you got anything other than a pillow?
Well done.
Is it a
Thanks.
My Pillow?
Ouch.
No.
Clemens Bonds.
No,
That's all I got.
No, but all right. I think Kirk, are we good to close at that point?
I want to
No,
hear.
what's yours?
Clemens
Kirk,
Bonds.
what's your,
That's all I got.
Speak.
What
Go
do
ahead,
you
Barry
hear
Bonds.
yet? What do you say?
Clemens and Bonds.
Clemens and Bonds?
Got it.
No one else?
No.
Nobody had Vasquel. Is that correct?
No.
Tough crowd for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for the second one of these in like 5 days here.
Oh, don't worry. I love it. So what is that? What's that tabulated at? So we have.
I tried to write them down, but you guys were talking too fast.
Remember, if you have, if
We
you
can check the
six,
film.
Post them in the in our chat, and then
We'll post them afterwards.
Somebody can do.
Yeah.
Somebody do the math.
post them over in the in our Twitter chat.
6 out of 7 of them say yes, he gets in. If you have 5 or less, you don't. And from my understanding,
I don't think. Right?
no,
Kirk
I
only
do.
had 2 people. David only had 4, and they don't overlap. So I don't know if anybody gets in.
No, that's not true. Because Clemens and Bonds, I think, and also, yeah, it's Clemens and Bonds.
Yeah, if anybody had any of the 6 that we had, 6.
So who are your 4, David?
And I think also Helton too. I think Helton was also on there.
Yeah.
My 4 were Kent, Wagner, Halton, and Schilling.
And somebody else didn't have Wagner, so it was only.
Yeah, I had Wagner too.
Yeah, Glenn didn't have Schilling, so Schilling's off. Did anyone else not have Helton? So I think Helton may have made it too.
Nice.
All right, so
Whitlock
what do we
didn't
have?
Whitlock didn't have Helton.
I know.
He did.
Oh no, Dave had Helton.
Yeah, so Helton was one of the 4. So I think those are our 3. Just doing quick.
Oh, nice. It's already much better than their action. It's way better than their hall is going to. Their class is going to be this year, which is no one.
Yeah, well, at least they didn't have something last year to make up for it. So.
Well, yeah, but even then, I'm still not going to give them credit because having a pandemic that's not an excuse. You just because you had a pandemic last year.
No.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get out of here. Thank you very much for.
Hey.
Yeah.
And see you guys again on the Greater Not in Hall of Fame podcast network.
Nice.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.
See you guys.
Later.
Adios.